Hi, Michael. Good to see you. It's been a while. I think it's about a month or so, maybe a bit more since we've seen each other. How are you keeping?
Yeah, I'm all right. Thanks, Michael. Yeah, I've kept in pretty decent contact with the players. We had some really good meetings yesterday about some of the fixtures that we're going to have to face when the season restarts. So stayed in contact with the likes of Liam and Jez and obviously the coaching staff, and trying to stay as busy as I possibly can, really.
I guess you've got to know we're working on Zoom today and all the conferencing type apps. I guess you're getting to know them quite well.
Yeah. I mean, there's 3 or 4 I've been using. So obviously we're on Zoom now as we speak, and yesterday I had Skype with all the players in different groups, and Microsoft Teams is another one.
Yeah, and what about the players themselves? How are they?
Yeah, they seem to be coping quite well. To be fair, obviously it's a difficult time for everybody. Yesterday we split the group up into 3 different groups, so there wasn't too many people and people over talking over somebody. They seem in pretty good spirits. We've been setting them various challenges over the last few weeks to try and stay in shape and try and stay up to speed, because when we get the green light to go again, obviously we want to sort of have them in as good a shape as we possibly can. So yeah, the banter's been flying. Obviously the WhatsApp groups that they have between each other and stuff have been pretty busy, and I suppose they've had to be, really, to keep everybody in good spirits.
And have you sort of kept a careful watch for some players, because it is quite difficult if you're living on your own or just 2 of you and it's a strange city that you're living in? It can be a little difficult. Have you kept an eye on that sort of the mental health side of things? I know it means a lot to you to keep an eye on that sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that the biggest thing I can sort of do from that point of view is like we've already mentioned, the type of meetings we had yesterday. Even though I split the groups into 7s and 8s, there's always 2 or 3 who speak more, and there's always 2 or 3 in the background who are there. They're listening, they're watching, they're listening to me speak, they're listening to the teammates speak, but don't say too much. And they're the ones that, obviously, I think it's important from my point of view just to keep reiterating and making the point that, listen, if you want to have a private conversation, any of you at any time, you're struggling a little bit, whether it's video, whether it's just by audio, I've got no problem at all. Pick up the phone. I'm here to help. It's one of them where I've had a couple of private conversations with players, not necessarily around, obviously, where they're struggling sort of from a mentality point of view, but something that they want to relate to me that they didn't want to do, obviously, in a group chat.
And what about the fitness-wise? I've seen some of the Premier League clubs are having Zoom fitness sessions. Are you doing things like that, or are you keeping it for individuals to maintain some sort of level of fitness?
Well, we've created certainly challenges for them and programs that that we want them to do together. But I think in between them as well, it's important to give them a little bit of a free rein to stay fit. And as long as we can give them a little bit of a guidance to what they do and how they do it. Unfortunately, we haven't got quite as good technology as some of the Premier League boys. And when I hear some of the stories that treadmills and cross trainers and benches are being sent to the houses personally, individually, we're not quite at that level yet. So we've just got to make the best of what we've got.
And the Football League have said May the 16th is at the very least the date when any sort of training could start. There's talk of possibly June or sometime when there might be some football back on a pitch. Whatever that is, it must be difficult for you because you can't at the moment say anything definite to the players. And you would like to have a goal of saying we're going to play X team on X day. That would be much easier, wouldn't it?
It certainly would. I get the impression that potentially there's going to be almost like a new league set up. So when the games do resume, whether you've got 9 games or 10 games left, we actually don't know who we're going to be playing first. So that's difficult. But having known the teams and playing the teams, so far this season, when that does come around, we'll be prepared. I mean, all I can say is that obviously whether we've got 2 weeks to prepare, 3 weeks to prepare, or 4 weeks to prepare, I can assure you that we're more than ready for that. We've put a mini pre-season and plans together, myself and the coaching staff and the medical staff, and they all look very different. The 2-week one, the 3-week one, the 4-week one look very different. But as soon as we get the green light to go, I can assure you that we're more than ready to get ourselves prepared for the start.
Well, I know, ideally, you said to me, we talked about a month or so ago, you'd love to see the fans there, but it does look at the moment like it could well be behind closed doors.
Yeah, I think it's only inevitable now. Obviously, the longer this has gone on, and the reality of it, I think, has hit home to a lot of people over the last month or so. And although over the last few days there seems to be a little bit of a bit of a curve where it's going the other way, which is obviously a positive from our point of view and everybody's point of view. But I think that still might last for a while yet before we really found big improvements in people actually getting COVID in the first place, but more importantly, making sure that the numbers of people dying dwindle.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we always stress this that football is a very distant, in importance to everything that's going on. And what about the idea of finishing the league? I think you're very much believing in the integrity of the league and whenever it's done within reason, getting it done.
Yeah, I mean that's probably a key word you finished with there, within reason. I mean, yes, honestly, I'm like everybody. I think we want to finish the season because you judged over. I was just about to say 46 games, but with 44 games as we know this year, with obviously Berry pulling out. But I think we've got to be guided by the government, guided by the governing bodies. I just hope that we have the opportunity to be sensible with the players and give players the opportunity to make sure that they're prepared going into the last 9 or 10 games of the season. And then again, obviously, when the next season does restart, we give ourselves the appropriate time that they need and everybody needs to make sure that we have a really good season to look forward to, hopefully with many spectators in the stands.
Absolutely, and that it's still a long way off, possibly next season, but that must be a real challenge for somebody like you to plan. I've heard some people saying potentially there might only be a 2 to 4 week pre-season between the end of one league and the start of the other, assuming, of course, he's not made the playoffs. So it might be a bit longer there. That doesn't give you a lot of leeway, and it might be they'll have to change the rules and give you a bit more of a transfer window to try and make the changes and adjust your squad.
Yeah, I think the beauty of football, and it's like a lot of businesses, but certainly football and a lot of sports, is you've got to be adaptable. And whether that's day to day, your training, your schedule, week to week, even when you're in a normal season. But yeah, we're more than ready for that, and we will be. And there's a lot of stuff that we can do at this time in terms of watching players, watching games, making sure from a recruitment point of view we know what's going on at other football clubs. And I think the biggest thing that will come out of certainly this situation in football is the clubs who are well run and do things properly. They will survive. It'll hit every single club very, very hard, and Lincoln will be no different at all. But those clubs who obviously do things the right way and are run the right way will survive this and come out probably hopefully stronger.
And you kind of sort of nicked my next question. We're obviously thinking on the same wavelength in the sense that, you wonder where players' wages and things like that might go. I mean, Lincoln had made the decision that, you're well aware of in terms of budgets for next year, but maybe with everything that's happening now, the budgets of other clubs will come back towards where Lincoln are, or perhaps even, behind Lincoln in terms of what they might need to do to survive as football clubs. There's a lot up in the air.
There is, yeah, and obviously, I've touched on it many, many times this season since I come to the football club about, as a football club in the last 2 or 3 years prior to getting promoted to League One, there's no doubt about it that as a club we had, either the best budget or in the top 2 or 3 in the conference in League Two. Whereas this season it's been a little bit different because obviously some big clubs in League One. And, you know, from my point of view, from a selfish point of view, if we find a scenario where next season the budgets are pretty similar, and it's almost a group of maybe 15, 16 clubs where there's not a great deal between their budgets. For me, it's a positive thing because it comes down to two things, well, three things. First and foremost, recruitment. And then secondly, which excites me, it's down to your coaching ability and your organisational skills. And then the third one's management.
I imagine you've had a lot of Zoom meetings with Clive and with Liam and with Jez, trying to go through the different scenarios of where the club might need to be next season, depending on what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, they happen daily and weekly, as you can probably imagine. But it's just one of them where at this moment in time, you're trying to plan, but you don't really know what you're planning for. So I think you've got to be aware of what you've got in front of you. And obviously the players that we've got so far in the building, first and foremost, you know, there's going to be a lot of clubs up and down the country thinking to themselves, you know, what's going to happen to the players who are out of contract beyond the 30th of June. I know FIFA have come out and said that, you know, that they're prepared to extend it and then change the transfer window. But that's okay saying that, and I get that and I understand that, but players have got to agree to that, clubs have got to agree to that, and governing bodies have got to agree to that. So there's still a lot of work to do in terms of preparation for next season in all areas, but I think first and foremost we've got to make sure we take care of the rest of this season.
Just one broad question. We saw last week the Premier League players doing what they did in terms of giving money to the NHS. It won't have surprised you. You'll know a lot of those players. You'll have been around them. You'll have talked to them. Their reaction was one I expected. I'm sure it's one you expected.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I say, a lot of footballers get stick, and I've been getting stick for a long, long time. And they get paid well, and everyone knows they get paid well. Certainly at the top level, I think. You know, some of those players that were in them meetings, I've worked with them players. I know them as players, but I also know them as individuals and personalities as well. And you know, what they did and what they've done and how they've approached it doesn't surprise me the slightest bit.
Finally, Michael, a message for the Lincoln City supporters. There'll be a lot of them watching this on their tablets, on their computers. They'll be, like us, frustrated with no football, being indoors, aware that it's for a greater cause. But a message for them?
Yeah, I mean, I think from our point of view, a message from me personally, first and foremost, and then definitely the rest of the football club and the staff and the players is that, listen, you know, thank you as ever for your continued support, because I know we're getting supported by you guys, whether we're playing or not. Stay home, stay safe, you know, make sure you follow all the guidelines that we've been given from the government, and hopefully it won't be too long before you've got that opportunity to come and watch us and cheer us on.
How you've been keeping fit back at home with all the gym shut and everything, how has it been for you?
Yeah, well, to be fair, Jake, it's one of them where I think a lot of people there's a few press-up challenges going on up and down the country. Yeah, so I think there's a lot of people who are going to be really, really good at doing press-ups when we come back out the other end of this, and I don't think I'll be any different.